All right, we are filming. Hello, Brian. This is Schola St. George, Anchorage. We are filming the Purple Belt test for the rank of Scholaro Maggiore for Neo here. He has completed the participation requirements. I'm going to ask him his knowledge questions, and then we will dive right into the plays with hopefully Seamus helping us out as compagno. All right, so Neo. Discuss the relationship between the need for control and distance in a fight. What is the central issue that arises as combatants close? And if you need I
would love a partner. So, say the question again, I apologize.
Discuss the relationship between the need for control and distance in a fight.
So, regarding the first part, needing control within first master, I don't necessarily need that much control because from first master, my opponent can strike me, but not that many strikes that can come at me. Like, I can lunge for a strike, or I can step forward and close in, but at that point, we're no longer in first master. Whereas second master, my opponent can now do me much harm. From any angle, he could strike at my legs, he could strike here, he could strike around. He could come in with a feint attack to draw my blade and come around for another attack. I need much more control over a sword in second master. Whereas third master, this is a very dangerous scenario. I would want the most control out of all the masters because I do not want him to either steal my sword, break my arm, throw me to the ground, or anything of these sorts. The second part of that question?
The second part of the question is, what is the central issue that arises as the combatants close?
As the combatants close, the more strikes and the more my opponent can strike me from any which way. From first master, not many. Second, all the way around from everywhere. Third, even more when it comes to binds, throws, strikes, whatever you name.
Okay, so the danger increases, yes. And the variety of dangers increases.
Yes.
Okay, so you need more control to keep yourself safe from those dangers.
Yes.
Okay. Good, let's move on to the second question. Discuss the relationship between Fiore's art in terms of abbracciare, daga, and the zogostretto for sword in two hands. What are the key similarities and differences? So let's just start out. What do each of those mean? What's abbracciare?
Abbracciare is the unarmed portion, wrestling.
And daga?
Daga is with a dagger.
And the zogostretto with sword in two hands means?
The close place.
The close place. So what's similar between them? What are the key differences?
So one of the key similarities between all of them regarding distance so from first master, my opponent can only throw a few strikes, and that goes from longsword, dagger, to unarmed. From second master, my opponent can strike me from anywhere, and that is with dagger, unarmed, longsword, whatever. Third master is the same. If he has a longsword in hand, he can grapple, throw, strike me. Dagger, he can stab, thrust, cut, throw, whatever. Unarmed, he can throw and strike me, and not necessarily punt or stab or cut. He probably could cut. So one of the key similarities is beating that distance and lethality or the distance and the amount of strikes my opponent can throw. One of the key differences is regarding how to fight. As an unarmed opponent, if you can put your sword down real fast, the ways I fight, even in real life, if my opponent most likely has more reach than me, so I would allow him to throw a haymaker and take the punch so that I could then grab him and do what I want, right? Whereas if my opponent had a dagger, you could throw one of the daggers. Just one. If my opponent had a dagger, if I tried to just go in and take that, well, that's a stab in my back, and I am now dead. So the biggest thing is lethality. Whereas same thing with longsword. Longsword, I wouldn't want to just rush in, get hit. The biggest key difference is how to fight. I would want to take a blow from a longsword and or a dagger, whereas I would take a blow from a haymaker. to get what I want.
Okay. Okay. So the immediacy of the danger.
Yes.
The focus on the weapon. I agree with that. I agree with that. Now, you've said how to fight a lot, and I think I understand what you mean. But when you're talking tactics, technique, for
Yes.
example, throws, binds, are those very different or very similar? Would you say?
I would say there are some similar ones, but also when it comes to the dagger, I'm not going to be worried about throwing my opponent to the ground. More so, I'm worried about breaking my opponent's arm or disarming the weapon.
Well, my question is more: is the way in which you will go about breaking his arm different or similar between longsword, dagger, and unarmed? True, there's differences in when you would choose to go for that move depending on the weapon. But
Yes.
is it the same technique? Is it a different technique?
There are different techniques. As longsword, I would want to really wait for that cross, and then do a technique that regards as having a cross. Whereas dagger, I would want to. I guess it'd be very similar actually, because you'd want to wait for a cross to happen, or things come in, or I get here, and then come in for a disarm.
Okay, so a lot of your tactics and techniques between the different weapons are going to translate that.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, even then with a normal punch, put the dagger down, he throws a punch at me, same difference. But,
Okay.
yeah.
I like that. Let's see here. Question number 3. Okay, what is the key difference between Zogo Largo and Zogo Stretto? And again, don't overthink this one. I think we cover tactics and things.
The biggest difference is distance. There's a lot less my opponent can do from a Zogo Largo than what my opponent can do in Zogo Stretto.
Okay. What are the two kinds of presse, and how do they manifest in a fight?
The two kinds of presse is presse imperfecta and presse perfecta. Imperfecta is basically pushing my opponent's out of the way, or pushing my opponent's blade out of the way for control.
Speak up.
Pushing my opponent's blade out of the way for control temporarily. He can then recover or do something, but it's just that one moment in time to get me something. Whereas a perfect pressa is getting my opponent fully controlled out of the way so that I am able to do whatever I want. Control.
So the maintenance of the control.
Yes.
Okay. What governs the decision to come to the pressa, and what circumstances should be avoided?
I would say when it comes to it is once we meet in a cross, anytime pretty much after a cross, just to get something to set up for something else. I can press him out of the way to go for a bind. I can press him out of the way for a strike. To avoid it is if go ahead and swing. If I get my opponent's you're going to swing just a fendente. If I get my opponent's blade out of the way, there would be no reason for me to press, but just kill. So if there are better opportunities, then I press.
Any other obvious scenarios when you should not go for a pressa?
If we are in First Master, probably don't do a press from there. If I come running at him, ha-ha, I'm probably going to get stabbed.
Okay, good. What are the 5 cose, the 5 things, and how are they used?
Okay, it is strike, disarm, throw, break, and press.
Okay.
And for the first one, strike, actually all of them are a setup to end the fight. I set up with a strike to end the fight. I can set up with a disarm to end the fight. I can set up with a break to end the fight. And I can set up with a press to end the fight.
Okay. Describe what is meant by the first, second, and third masters of the Encrosa. Just real briefly, what does each one mean, and why do we call them that?
The first, second, third master of the Encrosa. The first master being the farthest out that your blades can cross. This has a lot to do with distance. Again, my opponent can do some things, but not as much as you could if we were in a second master cross. The second master, I'm much more worried about a lot of other things. And the third master cross, well, then it becomes close plays and anything of the sorts.
Okay. I have a note, but I think that's a good answer. I'll go ahead and give my note on the test. That's fine. It's okay for someone to get a note on the test. I would also say, or I'll prompt you, why are they called the first, second, and third master of the Incrosa?
So the first master is usually where the fights start out as.
Well, yeah. You've explained that. Why are they? Actually, continue. Okay. So it's where they start.
It's where they start. The second master is usually after the start of the fight, or as the fight progresses, and third master usually.
So let me back you up.
Yep.
Reset.
Yep.
Make your first master Incrosa.
Okay.
Make a mezzo volta step and make another Incrosa.
Okay.
Well, Seamus, yeah, respond.
Okay.
Do the same thing again. So the ideal in an idealized fight is it is literally your first, second, and third
Okay.
Incrosa.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, fights don't always go that way.
Yes.
In fact, they don't usually quite go that cleanly. But that's how it's sort of presented.
Okay.
Okay. Last question before we go into the skill demonstrations. Discuss the Elefante's role in the Zogo Stretto, then discuss the role of the other animals in the Senio in Stretto play.
Okay. So, starting with Elefante, when you come here, I want my base to be better than his base. So if I'm coming in just for a normal push, if I have a very poor Elefante, I'm not going to do anything to this guy. Right? He's going to then take me down to the ground. Whereas if I have a proper Elefante, I can fully get him off balance. Now, regarding the other animals, Cervino, I would want to set my opponent up. Because a lot of the times, getting here, you're not going to get cleanly, like, oh, perfect, right? A lot of times it's going to be messy, so the more I can just think about what I can do and where I want him to go is how I would see Cervino. Regarding the fact, Leone, you have to do this with certainty. Because if we come in and I go here and actually I'm going to do this, he's going to give him time to draw back, cut me, kill me, whatever he wants to do. Teeth grade, speed is another big thing. Because if you go in and let's say I'm doing it with certainty, my Elefante is great, I set myself up, but I do it really, really slow, he's going to get out of it. And that's how the animals come to play.
Good, excellent. I'm going to pause this video here real quick, and we're going to jump right in again with the plays and the skill demonstration.